Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, a tribe has passed down stories for generations, stories so rich in detail that they've preserved the knowledge of medicinal plants long before modern science could name them. These tales aren't just folklore, they're a living library, a testament to the power of oral storytelling. Yet, in our modern world, where written records dominate, we've lost touch with this ancient art. What happens when a culture stops telling its stories? What wisdom fades away when voices fall silent? Today, we're diving into the forgotten art of ancient storytelling and oral histories, uncovering how these traditions shaped civilizations, preserved knowledge, and connected communities in ways that still resonate today. We'll explore why these stories mattered, what they tell us about humanity, and how their echoes might still be heard in our world. Get ready to rethink everything you know about the past and perhaps even the future. Long before the written word, before scrolls or tablets or even the simplest symbols etched into stone, humanity's first stories were spoken aloud. Picture a group of early humans huddled around a flickering fire, shadows dancing on the walls of a cave. These were the moments where storytelling began, not as entertainment but as a vital tool for survival. The earliest evidence of this tradition can be traced back to prehistoric cave paintings like those found in Lascaux or Chauvet. These ancient artworks weren't just decorations, they were visual aids for oral narratives, helping storytellers share knowledge about hunting techniques, migration routes, and the dangers of the natural world. In these early communities, storytelling was a communal act, a way to preserve and pass down critical information. Elders and shamans often took on the role of the storyteller, using their wisdom to weave tales that explained the mysteries of life. Why did the sun rise and set? What caused the seasons to change? These questions were answered through myths and legends, stories that gave meaning to the unknown. For example, a shaman might recount a tale of a great spirit controlling the weather, teaching the tribe to respect the forces of nature. These stories weren't just explanations, they were lessons, warnings, and guides for living in harmony with the world. Over time, storytelling became more than just a survival tool. It became a way to unite communities, to share values, and to create a sense of identity. The oral traditions of these early societies laid the groundwork for the rich diversity of storytelling we see today. From the epic poems of ancient Greece to the folktales of indigenous peoples, the echoes of those first storytellers can still be heard. Their legacy reminds us that storytelling is more than just words, it's a bridge between generations, a way to keep the past alive while shaping the future. As these traditions spread, they adapted to different environments and cultures, giving rise to a global tapestry of oral histories. What began as a survival skill transformed into an art form, one that continues to captivate and connect us. And as we explore the origins of oral storytelling, we begin to see how deeply it's woven into the fabric of what it means to be human. Before the written word became our primary tool for preserving knowledge, memory was the cornerstone of human history. Imagine a world without books, without scrolls, without even a single written note, where the stories of entire civilizations were carried forward solely in the minds of storytellers. This was the reality for countless ancient cultures, and the role of memory in their storytelling traditions was nothing short of extraordinary. To keep these oral histories alive, storytellers relied on a variety of techniques designed to make their narratives unforgettable. Repetition was one of the most powerful tools. By repeating key phrases, names, or events, storytellers reinforced the details, ensuring they remained sharp and accurate across generations. Rhythm and melody also played a crucial role. Many ancient tales were woven into songs or chants, turning stories into performances that were easier to remember and pass down. Think of it like a catchy tune. Once you hear it, it sticks in your mind. Another ingenious method was the use of mnemonic devices. These were mental shortcuts, visualizations, associations, or patterns that helped storytellers recall vast amounts of information. For example, a griot, a West African storyteller, might link each generation of a family to a specific object or location, creating a mental map of a genealogy stretching back centuries. Some griots could recite family histories spanning more than 500 years, a feat that seems almost superhuman by today's standards, but it wasn't just about raw memory. These techniques were deeply tied to the cultural significance of storytelling. For many societies, oral histories weren't just tales, they were the lifeblood of identity, connecting people to their ancestors, their land, and their values. The griots, for instance, weren't merely entertainers, they were historians, advisors, and keepers of wisdom. Their stories shaped how communities understood themselves and their place in the world. Today, our reliance on writing and digital tools has dramatically changed how we preserve and share knowledge. While these advancements have brought incredible benefits, they've also led to a decline in our collective memory skills. We no longer need to hold entire histories in our minds, and as a result, the art of memorization has faded. But what have we lost in the process? The ability to remember vast amounts of information wasn't just a practical skill, it was a way of keeping stories alive, vibrant, and deeply personal. This shift sets the stage for a deeper exploration of specific storytelling traditions, from the epic poems of ancient Greece to the intricate oral histories of indigenous cultures. Each tradition offers a unique window into how memory shaped the way we understand our past, and how it continues to influence the stories we tell today. For centuries across the vast landscapes of West Africa, the griots have stood as the guardians of memory, the keepers of stories that stretch back through generations. These revered storytellers and historians are far more than entertainers. They are the living, breathing libraries of their communities, entrusted with the sacred duty of preserving history, culture, and values. Through the rhythms of music and the power of spoken word, the griots weave a tapestry of knowledge that connects the past to the present, ensuring that no lesson, no triumph, no cautionary tale is ever forgotten. One of the most enduring stories passed down by the griots is the epic of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Māori Empire. This tale, rich with themes of resilience and unity, tells of a young prince who, despite being born physically impaired and exiled from his homeland, rises to become a legendary leader. Sundiata's story is not just a narrative of personal triumph, it's a reflection of the collective strength and identity of the Mandinka people. Through the griots' retelling, Sundiata's journey becomes a timeless reminder of the power of perseverance and the importance of community. The griots' role extends far beyond storytelling. They are the cultural anchors of their societies, serving as advisors, mediators, and even moral compasses. Their ability to recall genealogies, historical events, and ancestral wisdom makes them indispensable. In a world where written records were scarce, the griots became the repositories of oral history, ensuring that the voices of the past continued to guide the decisions of the present. This tradition has not only preserved African identity, but has also fostered resilience, allowing communities to draw strength from their shared heritage in times of adversity. What makes the griots truly remarkable is their adaptability. Even as the world around them has changed, they have found ways to keep their traditions alive. Today, modern griots blend ancient storytelling techniques with contemporary forms of expression, ensuring that their messages resonate with new generations. Their stories, whether sung, spoken, or performed, remain a testament to the enduring power of oral history and its ability to shape identity, inspire action, and connect us all to the roots of our humanity. Through the griots, we're reminded that history is not just a collection of dates and events, it's a living, breathing force that shapes who we are. Their voices, echoing across time, challenge us to listen, to learn, and to carry forward the stories that bind us together. Now, let's journey to the vast and ancient landscapes of Australia, where the Aboriginal peoples have preserved one of the oldest storytelling traditions in the world, the Dreamtime. These stories aren't just tales, they're the foundation of an entire worldview, explaining how the world came to be and the laws that govern life itself. Imagine a narrative so profound that it doesn't just describe creation, it is creation woven into the very fabric of existence. The Dreamtime stories are deeply tied to the land, serving as spiritual guides, moral compasses, and even practical maps for survival. Every rock, river, and tree holds a story, a memory of the ancestors who shaped the world in the Dreamtime. Take, for instance, the story of the rainbow serpent, one of the most iconic Dreamtime tales. According to the legend, the rainbow serpent carved out the rivers, mountains, and valleys as it moved across the land, breathing life into the earth and shaping the world as we know it. But this isn't just a story about the past, it's a living narrative that continues to guide Aboriginal communities today. The rainbow serpent teaches respect for the land and the delicate balance of nature, reminding people of their responsibility to care for the environment. It's a story that transcends time, connecting the past, present, and future in a single, unbroken thread. What makes Dreamtime stories truly remarkable is how they're passed down through generations. These stories aren't written in books or stored in archives, they're shared orally, often through song, dance, and art. Elders play a crucial role in this process, acting as the keepers of knowledge and ensuring that the stories remain alive and vibrant. This oral tradition isn't just about preserving history, it's about maintaining a living connection to the land and the ancestors. Each retelling is an act of reverence, a way of keeping the spirit of the Dreamtime alive in the hearts and minds of the community. As we explore these ancient narratives, it's impossible not to marvel at their enduring power. Dreamtime stories are more than myths. They're a testament to the resilience and creativity of the Aboriginal peoples, who have used storytelling to navigate the challenges of life for tens of thousands of years. They remind us that stories aren't just entertainment, they're a way of understanding the world, of finding meaning, and of passing on the wisdom of the ages. And as we'll see next, this tradition of oral storytelling isn't unique to Australia. It's a thread that connects cultures across the globe. In ancient Greece, myths weren't just tales to pass the time, they were the very fabric of society. Stories of gods, heroes, and monsters weren't mere entertainment. They were tools for teaching, guiding, and uniting people. Imagine sitting under the open sky in a Greek amphitheater, surrounded by hundreds of others, as a storyteller brought to life the adventures of Odysseus or the wrath of Achilles. These stories weren't just heard, they were felt, internalized, and passed down through generations. They shaped how people understood the world, their place in it, and the values they held dear. At the heart of this tradition was Homer, whose epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, became cornerstones of Greek culture. These weren't just written works, they were born from oral storytelling, recited by bards who memorized thousands of lines. Think about that for a moment. Entire epics passed from one voice to another, preserved not through ink and paper but through memory and performance. This wasn't just storytelling, it was an act of cultural survival. Through these narratives, the Greeks explored themes of honor, loyalty, and the consequences of hubris. Achilles' rage, Odysseus' cunning, and the gods' whims weren't just plot points, they were lessons in how to live, how to lead, and how to face the unknown. But what made these myths so powerful wasn't just their content, it was how they were shared. In Greek amphitheaters, storytelling was a communal experience. People gathered not as passive listeners but as active participants in a shared cultural moment. The storyteller's voice would echo off stone walls, the audience reacting with gasps, laughter, or tears. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a ritual, a way to strengthen the bonds of community and reinforce shared values. Myths became a mirror, reflecting the ideals and struggles of the people who told them. And here's the thing, these ancient stories didn't just stay in Greece. They traveled, evolved, and embedded themselves into the foundations of Western thought. The hero's journey, the tragedy of flawed characters, the interplay between fate and free will, these themes echo in modern literature, film, and even our everyday lives. When we talk about the power of stories, we're really talking about the power of myths to transcend time and culture. They remind us that even thousands of years later, the stories we tell and how we tell them matter. So, the next time you hear about a hero's journey or a tragic flaw, remember, you're not just hearing a story, you're connecting to a tradition that began in the amphitheaters of ancient Greece, where myths weren't just told, they were lived. And in many ways, they still are. Long before the written word became the primary vessel for history, the Norse sagas carried the weight of an entire culture's memory. These epic tales, filled with larger-than-life heroes, cunning gods, and daring voyages across stormy seas, were more than just entertainment, they were the lifeblood of Viking identity. At the heart of this tradition were the Scalds, the poets and storytellers who wove these narratives into the fabric of everyday life. Scalds didn't just recite stories, they were the keepers of history, the guardians of a people's legacy, and the architects of a shared cultural imagination. Take, for example, the saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, one of the most iconic figures in Norse lore. Ragnar's tale is a riveting blend of fact and fiction, where the lines between history and myth blur into a single, compelling narrative. Was he a real Viking chieftain who raided and ruled? Or was he a legendary figure crafted by Scalds to embody the ideals of courage, ambition, and resilience? The answer lies somewhere in between, and that's precisely what makes the sagas so fascinating. They don't just tell us what happened, they reveal what the Vikings believed, what they aspired to, and how they saw themselves in the world. The sagas weren't just about individuals like Ragnar, they were also a reflection of the Viking way of life. These stories celebrated exploration, honor, and the relentless pursuit of glory values that defined the Viking age. Through the sagas, we catch glimpses of their world, the icy fjords, the roaring longships, and the fierce battles that tested the limits of human endurance. But they also reveal something deeper, a worldview shaped by the belief in fate, the power of the gods, and the inevitability of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. What's remarkable about the Norse sagas is how they balance the extraordinary with the everyday. Gods walk among mortals, shaping their destinies, yet the stories are grounded in the realities of Viking life, farming, trading, and navigating the treacherous waters of politics and kinship. This duality makes the sagas not just a window into the past, but a mirror reflecting the timeless human struggle to find meaning in a chaotic world. Through the Scalds' artistry, these stories were passed down orally for generations, each retelling adding new layers of meaning and nuance. They weren't just preserved, they were lived, shaping the way the Vikings saw themselves and their place in the world. The sagas remind us that storytelling isn't just about remembering the past, it's about understanding who we are and who we might become. For countless generations, the indigenous peoples of the Americas have woven the fabric of their cultures through the power of storytelling. These narratives are far more than mere tales. They are living histories, spiritual guides, and repositories of wisdom passed down through the ages. Among the Navajo, for instance, the creation story is a cornerstone of their identity, recounting how the holy people emerged from the underworlds to shape the earth and teach humanity how to live in harmony with it. This story, like so many others, wasn't just told, it was performed, sung, and shared in gatherings that brought the community together, binding them to their ancestors and to each other. The Iroquois, too, hold a profound tradition of storytelling, particularly in the legend of the Peacemaker. This story recounts the unification of warring tribes under the Great Law of Peace, a foundational concept that not only shaped the Iroquois Confederacy but also inspired democratic principles beyond their borders. These stories weren't confined to the realm of entertainment. They were lessons in morality, governance, and survival, taught in ways that resonated deeply with listeners. The communal setting of these storytelling sessions was crucial. Elders would share knowledge while the young listened, creating a bridge between generations and reinforcing a shared cultural identity. But these traditions face significant challenges in the modern world. As indigenous communities grapple with the impacts of colonization, globalization, and the erosion of ancestral languages, the transmission of oral histories has become increasingly difficult. Stories that once thrived in the firelight of communal gatherings are now at risk of being lost, their richness and depth fading with each passing generation. Yet, despite these challenges, many tribes are finding innovative ways to preserve their storytelling traditions, from recording elders' voices to integrating oral histories into modern educational programs. The resilience of these practices speaks to their enduring importance not just as relics of the past, but as vital tools for cultural survival and renewal in the present. Now, let's journey to the misty hills and rugged landscapes of ancient Ireland and Scotland, where the Celtic bards once held court. These masterful poets and storytellers were far more than entertainers. They were the living memory of their people. With their songs and poems, they wove together the history, legends, and values of their communities, ensuring that the stories of heroes, gods, and everyday life were never forgotten. The bards were revered not just for their artistic skill, but for their ability to connect the past to the present, binding generations together through the power of spoken and sung words. Take, for example, the tale of Cuchulainn, one of the most legendary figures in Celtic mythology. As a young boy, he was known as Setanta, but after slaying the fierce guard dog of a blacksmith in self-defense, he earned the name Cuchulainn, meaning Hound of Culann. His story is one of bravery, tragedy, and loyalty, embodying the ideals of the Celtic warrior spirit. The bards didn't just recount his adventures, they brought them to life, using rhythm, rhyme, and melody to stir the hearts of their listeners. Through their artistry, Cuchulainn became more than a hero. He became a symbol of courage and resilience, a figure whose legacy transcended time. But the influence of the Celtic bards didn't stop at the shores of Ireland or the highlands of Scotland. Their traditions rippled outward, shaping the literary and cultural landscapes of medieval Europe. The bards' emphasis on oral storytelling, their use of poetic devices, and their ability to evoke emotion through performance laid the groundwork for later traditions like the troubadours of France and the minstrels of England. Even today, echoes of their craft can be found in modern storytelling, from epic fantasy novels to the rhythmic cadence of spoken-word poetry. What made the bards truly remarkable was their ability to adapt. They weren't just reciting memorized lines, they were interpreting stories, adding their own flair, and responding to their audience. This dynamic approach kept the tales alive, allowing them to evolve while staying rooted in their cultural origins. It's a reminder that storytelling is not just about preserving the past, it's about breathing life into it, making it resonate with each new generation. The Celtic bards understood this deeply, and through their artistry, they left an indelible mark on the world. Long before the written word, stories were alive, breathed into existence by the voices of storytellers, passed down through generations like a sacred flame. But as civilizations evolved, so did the way we preserved and shared our narratives. The invention of writing marked a turning point, a shift from the spoken word to the written page. At first, this seemed like progress. Stories could now be recorded, saved, and shared across distances. But something profound was lost in the process. The emotional depth, the communal energy, the spontaneity of a story told by firelight, these began to fade. Writing, while revolutionary, stripped stories of their performative essence. A written tale is static, fixed in time, while an oral story is fluid, changing with each telling, shaped by the storyteller's voice, gestures, and connection to the audience. Over time, as written records became the dominant form of preservation, the art of oral storytelling began to wane. Communities that once gathered to hear stories now turned to scrolls, books, and eventually mass media. The rise of colonization further accelerated this decline. Indigenous cultures, rich with oral traditions, faced immense pressure to abandon their storytelling practices in favor of the colonizers' written systems. Languages were suppressed, and with them, the stories that carried the wisdom, history, and identity of entire peoples. Globalization only deepened this loss as dominant cultures overshadowed local traditions, pushing oral storytelling to the margins of society. Yet, even as these ancient arts faded, their essence lingered, a quiet reminder of what we had lost. Today, there's a growing movement to revive these traditions, to bring back the power of the spoken word, to reconnect with the emotional and communal roots of storytelling. From indigenous communities reclaiming their heritage to modern artists blending oral traditions with contemporary mediums, the revival of oral storytelling is a testament to its enduring significance. This shift from decline to revival isn't just about preserving the past, it's about rediscovering the magic of storytelling as a living, breathing art form. And as we explore this journey, we'll see how the ancient and the modern can come together to create something truly extraordinary. In today's fast-paced, tech-driven world, it might seem like the ancient art of oral storytelling has faded into the background. But here's the fascinating truth. It's not only alive, it's thriving. Across the globe, there's a growing movement to preserve and revive these traditions, blending the wisdom of the past with the tools of the present. From intimate storytelling circles to sprawling digital archives, modern efforts are breathing new life into this timeless craft. Take, for example, the StoryCorps project. This remarkable initiative invites people from all walks of life to sit down and share their personal stories. These conversations are recorded, archived, and preserved for future generations, creating a living tapestry of human experience. It's storytelling in its purest form, raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal. And it's a powerful reminder that every voice, no matter how ordinary it may seem, has the potential to touch hearts and inspire change. But the revival of oral storytelling isn't just about preserving the past, it's also about reclaiming cultural identity. Indigenous communities around the world are leading the charge, using modern mediums to reconnect with their heritage. In places like Australia, Canada, and the Amazon, elders are passing down ancestral stories through podcasts, YouTube channels, and even virtual reality experiences. These projects aren't just about keeping traditions alive, they're about ensuring that the voices of the past continue to guide and inspire the future. What's truly remarkable is how these efforts are bridging the gap between ancient and modern storytelling. Festivals dedicated to oral storytelling are popping up everywhere, from small towns to major cities. These events bring together storytellers and listeners in a shared experience that feels both ancient and refreshingly new. And in the digital realm, platforms like TikTok and Instagram are becoming unexpected spaces for storytelling, proving that even in an age of sound bites and short-form content, the human need for connection through stories remains as strong as ever. So, what does this mean for us? It's a reminder that storytelling is more than just entertainment, it's a lifeline. It's how we make sense of the world, how we connect with one another, and how we pass on the lessons of the past to shape the future. Whether it's through a microphone, a smartphone, or the simple act of gathering around a fire, the stories we tell have the power to unite us, heal us, and remind us of our shared humanity. And in a world that often feels divided, that's something worth celebrating. Have you ever wondered why a well-told story can feel so captivating, almost as if it's pulling you into another world? It turns out there's a fascinating science behind why stories resonate so deeply with us. Our brains are hardwired to connect with narratives, and this connection goes far beyond simple entertainment. When we hear a story, it's not just our imagination that lights up, our entire brain gets involved, creating a powerful emotional and cognitive experience. Research shows that storytelling activates multiple areas of the brain simultaneously. For instance, when we hear about a character's actions, the motor cortex lights up as if we're performing those actions ourselves. Descriptions of sights, sounds, or smells engage the sensory cortices, making us feel as though we're experiencing the story firsthand. This phenomenon is known as neural coupling, where the listener's brain mirrors the storyteller's, fostering a deep sense of connection and empathy. It's as if the story bridges the gap between teller and listener, creating a shared experience that transcends time and space. But the impact of storytelling doesn't stop there. Stories also play a crucial role in memory. Studies have found that information presented in narrative form is far more likely to be remembered than dry facts or data. This is because stories provide context and emotional anchors, helping our brains organize and store information more effectively. Think about it: how many times have you forgotten a statistic but remembered a compelling anecdote? That's the power of storytelling at work. Beyond memory, storytelling has profound therapeutic benefits. Experts in psychology and anthropology have noted how sharing stories can help individuals process trauma, build resilience, and strengthen community bonds. For many cultures, oral traditions are more than just a way to pass down history. They're a means of preserving identity and fostering a sense of belonging. When stories are told, they carry the values, struggles, and triumphs of a people, ensuring that these elements endure across generations. This scientific understanding of storytelling underscores why reviving oral traditions is so vital. In a world increasingly dominated by digital communication, the intimate, communal act of sharing stories face-to-face offers something irreplaceable. It taps into the very essence of what makes us human: our need to connect, to understand, and to be understood. By embracing the art of storytelling, we're not just preserving the past, we're nurturing a timeless tool that has the power to shape our future. Long before the written word became our primary way of preserving stories, the Epic of Gilgamesh was already captivating audiences in ancient Mesopotamia. This monumental tale, often considered the oldest surviving piece of literature, began as an oral tradition, a story shared around campfires in bustling marketplaces and within the walls of temples. At its heart, it's a story about what it means to be human. Gilgamesh, the powerful but flawed king, embarks on a journey not just across lands but into the depths of his own soul. His quest for immortality, his bond with his companion Enkidu, and his eventual confrontation with loss and mortality are themes that still echo powerfully today. What makes this epic so remarkable isn't just its age, it's the universality of its message. Gilgamesh's search for meaning in the face of death is something every generation grapples with. His friendship with Enkidu, a wild man tamed by compassion, reminds us of the transformative power of human connection, and his realization that true immortality lies not in living forever but in the legacy we leave behind. This is a lesson that transcends time and culture. But let's not forget the storytellers who kept this epic alive for centuries before it was ever etched into clay tablets. These anonymous bards carried the weight of Gilgamesh's story on their tongues, adapting it with each retelling to fit their audience. They were the original custodians of history, weaving together myth, morality, and memory in a way that resonated deeply with their listeners. It's through their dedication that we have this window into the thoughts and fears of people who lived over 4,000 years ago. Today, the Epic of Gilgamesh stands as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling. It's a reminder that even in the ancient world, people were asking the same questions we still ask: what is our purpose? How do we face our mortality, and what truly makes a life meaningful? These are questions that don't fade with time, they only grow more profound. So the next time you hear a story, whether it's shared aloud or written down, think of Gilgamesh and the countless voices that carried his tale through the ages. In their words, we find not just history, but a reflection of ourselves. Long before written records became the norm, women played a vital yet frequently unacknowledged role in the ancient art of storytelling. While history often celebrates male bards and poets, women were equally instrumental in weaving the fabric of oral traditions, preserving not just tales but the very essence of their communities. Take, for instance, the legendary Greek poet Sappho, whose lyrical verses on love, loss, and longing have echoed through the ages. Though much of her work has been lost to time, the fragments that remain reveal a voice that was deeply personal yet universally resonant, offering a glimpse into the emotional and social lives of women in antiquity. In Celtic traditions, women like the Banshees, often misunderstood as mere harbingers of doom, were in fact custodians of family histories. Their keening songs performed at funerals were more than mournful laments. They were intricate narratives that honored the deceased, recounted their deeds, and connected the living to their ancestors. These stories weren't just about remembering the past, they were about ensuring the survival of cultural values and collective memory. Through their words, women like the Banshees wove threads of resilience and continuity, reminding their communities of who they were and where they came from. What's striking about these tales is how often they revolved around themes of resilience and community. Women's stories frequently explored the challenges of survival in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. They celebrated acts of courage, ingenuity, and solidarity, offering not just entertainment but also guidance and inspiration. These narratives weren't just for women, they were for everyone, shaping the identities and values of entire cultures. In many ways, the stories told by women became the glue that held communities together, fostering a sense of belonging and shared purpose. It's fascinating to consider how these ancient narratives continue to influence us today. The themes of resilience and community that women storytellers championed are timeless, resonating across generations and cultures. Their stories remind us of the power of storytelling to connect, heal, and inspire, a power that transcends gender and time. So the next time you hear a story, whether it's passed down through your family or shared in a modern retelling, take a moment to think about the voices, both seen and unseen, that have carried these tales forward. Because in every story, there's a piece of someone's heart, a fragment of their world waiting to be understood. Now, let's journey to the enchanting world of the Arabian Nights, a treasure trove of stories that have captivated audiences for centuries. Born from the oral traditions of the Middle East and South Asia, this collection is more than just a series of tales, it's a window into the cultural heartbeat of an entire region. Stories like Aladdin and Sinbad the Sailor weren't just told to entertain. They were tools for teaching moral lessons, preserving traditions, and sparking the imagination of listeners young and old. But what makes the Arabian Nights truly unique is its framing device, the story of Scheherazade, a clever and courageous storyteller who weaves tales night after night to save her own life. Her stories aren't just for survival, they're a testament to the power of narrative itself. Through her, storytelling becomes a lifeline, a way to outwit danger and connect on a deeper level. It's no wonder her tales have endured, becoming a symbol of resilience and the timeless allure of a well-told story. These stories didn't just stay within the borders of their origin. Over time, the Arabian Nights traveled far and wide, influencing literature, art, and even modern pop culture. Think about it, how many of us grew up with the magic of Aladdin's lamp or the thrill of Sinbad's adventures? These tales have become universal, transcending time and geography to resonate with people across the globe. What's fascinating is how these stories, rooted in oral tradition, manage to adapt and thrive in different cultures. They remind us that storytelling isn't just about the words, it's about the connection they create, the lessons they impart, and the way they bring people together. And in the case of the Arabian Nights, they show us how a single voice like Scheherazad's can echo across generations, proving that stories truly are immortal. Picture this, a campfire flickering in the night, its warm glow illuminating the faces of listeners as a storyteller weaves a tale of heroes, villains, and epic journeys. Fast forward to today, and that same magic is alive in the movies we watch, the books we read, and even the video games we play. Ancient storytelling isn't just a relic of the past, it's the foundation of the stories that captivate us now. Take the hero's journey, for example. This timeless structure, rooted in oral traditions, has become a blueprint for modern storytelling. It's the backbone of some of the most iconic narratives in recent history. Think about Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, a young farm boy thrust into a galactic adventure, facing trials, mentors, and a final showdown with evil. Sound familiar? That's because George Lucas consciously drew from mythological archetypes, crafting a story that feels both fresh and deeply familiar. But it's not just about heroes. Ancient storytellers understood the power of archetypes, universal characters, and themes that resonate across cultures and time. The wise mentor, the trickster, the rebel, these roles appear in everything from The Lord of the Rings to The Matrix. They tap into something primal, a shared human experience that transcends language and technology. And let's not forget the communal aspect of storytelling. In ancient times, stories were told aloud, bringing people together to share in the experience. Today, that tradition lives on in binge-worthy TV shows and multiplayer video games. Shows like Game of Thrones or games like The Legend of Zelda create worlds where audiences can gather, discuss, and immerse themselves in shared narratives. It's a modern twist on an age-old practice, proving that the need to connect through stories hasn't faded, it's just evolved. These connections remind us that storytelling isn't just entertainment, it's a way to explore the human condition. Whether it's a myth told around a fire or a blockbuster film in a packed theater, the stories we tell reflect our fears, hopes, and dreams. They remind us of who we are and who we can become. Deep in the heart of Maori culture lies a tradition that weaves together the past, the present, and the natural world in a way that's both profound and deeply personal. This tradition is called Whakapapa. At its core, Whakapapa is far more than just a family tree. It's a living, breathing narrative that connects individuals to their ancestors, their land, and even the stars above. It's a way of understanding not just where you come from, but who you are in the grand tapestry of life. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, knowing that every wave that rolls onto the shore carries with it the stories of your forebears. That's the essence of Whakapapa. It's a genealogical storytelling method that traces lineage through generations, but it's also a spiritual guide, a historical record, and a moral compass. Through these narratives, the Maori people teach their children the values of their ancestors, the history of their people, and their sacred connection to the land, rivers, and mountains. It's a tradition that doesn't just recount names and dates, it breathes life into them. Take, for example, the story of Tain Mahuta, the god of the forest. In Maori cosmology, Tain is said to have separated his parents Ranginui, the Sky Father, and Papatuanuku, the Earth Mother, to bring light and life into the world. This story isn't just a myth, It's a cornerstone of Whakapapa, illustrating the interconnectedness of all living things. When a Maori elder shares this tale, they're not just recounting a legend. They're passing down a worldview, one that teaches respect for nature, the importance of balance, and the responsibility each person has to protect their environment. But Whakapapa goes even deeper than that. It's a way of grounding individuals in their identity, giving them a sense of belonging that transcends time and space. For the Maori, knowing your Whakapapa means understanding your place in the universe. It's a way of saying, I am because they were. This connection to the past isn't just about pride, it's about purpose. It's a reminder that every decision you make, every action you take, is part of a larger story that began long before you and will continue long after. In a world where so many of us feel disconnected from our roots, from nature, even from ourselves, the Maori tradition of Whakapapa offers a powerful lesson. It reminds us that our stories matter, that our ancestors' voices still echo in our lives, and that we are all part of something greater. It's a tradition that doesn't just preserve the past, it enriches the present and lights the way for the future. And in a time when we're searching for meaning, perhaps that's exactly what we need. Storytelling has always been more than just entertainment. It's a sacred act, a bridge between generations, and a way to preserve the soul of a culture. But with this power comes great responsibility. When we tell stories, especially those rooted in indigenous traditions, we must ask ourselves, who owns this narrative? Who has the right to share it? These questions sit at the heart of the ethical responsibility of storytelling. For centuries, indigenous stories were passed down orally, woven into the fabric of their communities. These narratives aren't just tales, they're living histories, spiritual teachings, and cultural blueprints. Yet, in an age where stories can travel the globe in seconds, there's a risk of these traditions being stripped of their context, commodified, or even misrepresented. This is where the concept of cultural ownership becomes vital. Indigenous stories belong to the people who created them, and sharing them without permission or proper understanding can lead to cultural appropriation, a harm that erases the voices of the very communities these stories are meant to uplift. But there's hope in the form of collaborative storytelling. Imagine projects where indigenous elders and modern storytellers come together, not as rivals but as partners. One powerful example is the work being done by the Māori in New Zealand, where traditional knowledge is being shared through films, books, and digital platforms, but always under the guidance and consent of the Māori people themselves. These collaborations honor the source of the stories while introducing them to new audiences in a way that's respectful and authentic. As we look to the future, storytelling has the potential to be a unifying force. In a world often divided by differences, stories can remind us of our shared humanity. They can connect us across borders, languages, and cultures, creating a sense of belonging in an increasingly fragmented world. But this future depends on our willingness to approach storytelling with humility, respect, and a commitment to ethical practices. The stories we tell today shape the world we'll live in tomorrow. By honoring the voices of those who came before us, we ensure that their wisdom continues to inspire and guide us, not just as isolated communities, but as a global family. And in doing so, we weave a tapestry of understanding that's as diverse as it is beautiful. Now, let's journey to the rugged landscapes of Iceland, where the cold winds carry tales of ancient heroes, gods, and the very beginnings of a nation. Here, we find the Icelandic Sagas stories that are more than just entertainment. They are a tapestry woven from history, myth, and the intricate threads of family lineage. These sagas, written in the 13th and 14th centuries, are a treasure trove of the Norse world, preserving the lives, struggles, and beliefs of early Icelandic settlers. But what makes them so extraordinary is how they blur the lines between fact and legend, creating a narrative style that feels both timeless and deeply human. Take, for instance, the Saga of the Volsungs, a masterpiece that has echoed through the centuries. This saga is a tale of heroes and dragons, of love and betrayal, and of the inescapable grip of fate. At its heart is Sigurd, a warrior who slays a dragon, claims a cursed treasure, and becomes entangled in a web of destiny that no one, not even the gods, can escape. But beyond the epic battles and magical elements, the saga explores universal themes: the cost of ambition, the weight of legacy, and the fragile nature of human choices. It's a story that feels as relevant today as it did when it was first told. The Icelandic sagas were more than just entertainment for their original audience. They served as a way to preserve the history and identity of a people who had left their homeland and settled in a new, harsh environment. Through these stories, the settlers recounted their origins, honored their ancestors, and passed down their values to future generations. The sagas also reflect the Norse worldview, a world where the gods walked among mortals, where fate was a force as real as the mountains, and where honor was worth more than life itself. What's remarkable is how these ancient tales continue to resonate in modern times. The themes of heroism, fate, and moral complexity found in the sagas have inspired countless works of literature, from J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth to the epic fantasy novels of today. Even beyond books, the sagas have influenced art, music, and film, proving that these stories are not just relics of the past but living, breathing narratives that still speak to us. So, what is it about the Icelandic sagas that makes them so enduring? Perhaps it's their ability to capture the essence of what it means to be human, to struggle, to dream, and to leave a mark on the world. Or maybe it's the way they remind us that our stories, no matter how ancient, are never truly forgotten. They live on, passed from one generation to the next, connecting us to those who came before and those who will come after. Long before stories were written down, they lived in the air, passed from one generation to the next through rituals and ceremonies. These weren't just performances, they were sacred acts woven into the very fabric of ancient life. Imagine a Native American powwow where drums echo like the heartbeat of the earth and stories are shared under the open sky. These gatherings weren't just about entertainment. They were moments of connection where the community came together to honor their ancestors, celebrate the cycles of nature, and pass down the wisdom of their people. Each tale told around the fire carried the weight of history, binding the listeners to their past and to one another. Or consider the Celtic festival of Samhain, marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. This was a time when the veil between worlds was said to be thinnest, and storytelling became a way to honor the dead, remember the lessons of the past, and prepare for the challenges ahead. Tales of heroes, spirits, and ancient gods weren't just stories. They were rituals in themselves, a way to navigate the mysteries of life and death. Through these narratives, people found meaning, strength, and a sense of belonging. These rituals weren't isolated events, they were the glue that held communities together. By sharing stories in these sacred spaces, people reinforced their shared identity and values. They reminded themselves of who they were, where they came from, and what they stood for. And in doing so, they ensured that their culture would endure even as the world around them changed. But storytelling in these contexts went beyond the practical. It touched something deeper, the spiritual. Stories became a bridge between the physical and the mystical, a way to explore the unseen forces that shaped their lives. Whether it was the spirits of the land, the wisdom of the ancestors, or the mysteries of the cosmos, storytelling allowed people to connect with something greater than themselves. And in that connection, they found not just understanding, but also a sense of awe and wonder. This spiritual dimension of storytelling is perhaps its most enduring legacy. Even today, when we hear a story that moves us, we're tapping into that ancient tradition, a tradition that reminds us of our shared humanity and our place in the vast tapestry of existence. The Tibetan Gesar epic stands as one of the most monumental storytelling achievements in human history, stretching across countless verses and generations. Imagine a tale so vast that it could take weeks, even months, to recite in full, a sprawling narrative of heroism, spirituality, and the timeless battle between light and darkness. This is the Gesar epic, a cornerstone of Tibetan culture and one of the longest oral traditions ever recorded. At its heart, the Gesar epic is more than just a story. It's a living tapestry of Tibetan identity. The hero, King Gesar, is not merely a warrior but a spiritual leader, a protector of his people, and a symbol of resilience. His journey is filled with mythical battles against demons, quests for sacred treasures, and profound moments of enlightenment. These themes resonate deeply, reflecting the struggles and triumphs of the Tibetan people themselves. The epic isn't just entertainment, it's a reflection of their values, their spirituality, and their enduring fight to preserve their way of life. What makes the Gesar epic truly remarkable is how it has been passed down through the ages. For centuries, Tibetan storytellers, known as Drepung, have carried this epic in their hearts and minds. These custodians of tradition would travel from village to village, often performing for hours or even days at a time. Their recitations weren't just performances, they were acts of cultural preservation, ensuring that the wisdom and heritage of the Gesar epic remained alive in the hearts of each new generation. In a world where oral traditions are increasingly at risk of fading away, the Gesar epic stands as a testament to the power of storytelling to resist cultural erasure. It has become a symbol of Tibetan resilience, a way for the community to assert its identity and history in the face of external pressures. The epic's survival is a reminder that stories are more than words. They are the lifeblood of a culture, a bridge between the past and the future. Through the Gesar epic, we see how storytelling can shape not just individual lives but entire communities. It's a vivid example of how oral traditions can carry the weight of history, spirituality, and collective memory, ensuring that the voices of the past continue to echo into the future. Picture this, a storyteller from thousands of years ago, sitting around a fire, weaving tales that captivate their audience. Now, fast forward to today, and that same tradition is being reimagined through the lens of modern technology. The future of oral storytelling is here, and it's evolving in ways that even our ancestors might find astonishing. From the rise of podcasts to the immersive worlds of virtual reality, technology is not just preserving ancient storytelling, it's transforming it. Take podcasts, for example. They've become one of the most accessible ways to share stories in the digital age. Think about it. A podcast is essentially a modern campfire where voices carry tales across the globe, connecting listeners in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. Shows like Myths and Legends or Lore take ancient stories and breathe new life into them, making them relatable for contemporary audiences, but it doesn't stop there. Podcasts are also creating spaces for marginalized voices to share their oral traditions, ensuring that stories once at risk of being lost are now being heard by millions. Then there's virtual reality or VR, which takes storytelling to a whole new dimension literally. Imagine stepping into a virtual world where you're not just hearing a story but living it. Projects like The Enemy, a VR experience that places users in the middle of real-life conflicts, or The Underpresence, which combines live theater with interactive storytelling, are pushing the boundaries of what narrative can be. These innovations aren't just about flashy tech, they're about creating deeper emotional connections between the story and the audience. And here's the exciting part. VR has the potential to revive ancient storytelling methods by making them more immersive and participatory, much like how oral traditions relied on the listener's imagination and engagement. But how do these modern tools help preserve cultural heritage? Consider the work of organizations like StoryCorps, which records and archives personal stories from people of all backgrounds. These recordings become a living library of human experience, safeguarding traditions and memories for future generations. Similarly, projects like Google's Woolaroo use augmented reality to teach endangered languages, integrating storytelling with language preservation. It's a powerful reminder that technology isn't just about the future, it's also a bridge to the past. Of course, with every advancement comes a challenge. How do we ensure that these new forms of storytelling remain authentic to the traditions they're built upon? How do we balance innovation with respect for cultural heritage? These are questions that storytellers, technologists, and communities must grapple with together. But one thing is clear, the future of storytelling is a fusion of old and new, where ancient tales find new life in the digital age, and where technology becomes a tool for preserving the richness of our shared human experience. Deep in the forests of Finland, there exists a treasure trove of ancient tales that have shaped a nation's soul. This is the Kelvala, Finland's national epic, a masterpiece woven from the threads of oral poetry and song. Unlike written texts, the Kelvala was born from the voices of countless storytellers, passed down through generations, each adding their own rhythm and spirit to the collective memory. It's a living testament to the power of oral tradition, where the lines between myth, magic, and reality blur in the most enchanting ways. At its heart, the Kelvala is a celebration of nature, a world where forests whisper secrets, rivers sing, and the northern lights dance with otherworldly brilliance. It's filled with heroes like Väinämöinen, the wise and eternal bard, and Ilmarinen, the master blacksmith who forged the heavens. These characters aren't just figures of legend, they embody the struggles, triumphs, and dreams of the Finnish people. The Kelvala's themes of resilience, creation, and the sacred bond between humans and the natural world resonate deeply, offering a glimpse into the soul of a culture shaped by its rugged, breathtaking landscapes. But the Kelvala might have been lost to time if not for the dedication of one man, Elias Lönnrot. In the 19th century, Lönnrot embarked on a monumental journey, traveling through remote villages to collect the fragments of these oral traditions. He didn't just record them, he wove them into a cohesive narrative, preserving a cultural heritage that might otherwise have faded into obscurity. His work wasn't just an act of scholarship, it was an act of love, ensuring that the voices of the past could continue to speak to future generations. Today, the Kelvala is more than just a literary work, it's a cornerstone of Finnish identity. Its influence can be seen in everything from art and music to architecture and education. Composer Jean Sibelius drew inspiration from its melodies, and its imagery has shaped Finland's visual culture. Beyond its borders, the Kelvala has inspired writers and artists worldwide, proving that the power of storytelling knows no boundaries. What makes the Kelvala so enduring? Perhaps it's the way it captures the universal human experience, our longing for connection, our struggle against adversity, and our awe of the natural world. It reminds us that stories aren't just entertainment, they're the lifeblood of culture, the threads that bind us to our ancestors and to each other. The Kelvala isn't just a relic of the past, it's a living, breathing testament to the timeless power of the spoken word. Ancient storytelling, no matter where or when it emerged, often revolved around a handful of universal themes, ideas so deeply ingrained in the human experience that they resonate across time and cultures. Take heroism, for instance. Almost every ancient culture has its epic tales of heroes, whether it's the Greek demigod Hercules, the Mesopotamian king Gilgamesh, or the Indian warrior Arjuna. These stories weren't just about extraordinary feats of strength or bravery. They were about the human struggle to overcome adversity, to rise above challenges, and to leave a lasting legacy. Heroism, in its essence, reminds us of our potential to achieve greatness, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Another recurring theme is morality. Ancient stories often served as ethical guides, teaching listeners the difference between right and wrong through vivid narratives. Think of Aesop's fables, where animals embody human traits to deliver life lessons, or the parables of the Buddha, which illuminate the path to enlightenment through simple yet profound tales. These stories weren't just entertainment, they were tools for shaping character and community. They remind us that even in our modern, fast-paced world, the questions of how to live a good life and treat others with kindness remain as relevant as ever. Then there's the theme of humanity's connection to nature, a theme that speaks to our shared origins and interdependence with the world around us. Indigenous oral traditions, from the First Nations of North America to the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, often center on this relationship. Stories of creation, of spirits residing in rivers and mountains, of animals as teachers and guides. These narratives underscore a profound respect for the natural world. They remind us that we are not separate from nature but deeply intertwined with it, a lesson that feels especially urgent in an era of environmental crisis. What makes these themes so timeless? They tap into the core of what it means to be human. Heroism inspires us to strive for better. Morality provides a compass for our actions. And our connection to nature grounds us in something larger than ourselves. These stories, passed down through generations, aren't just relics of the past. They're living wisdom, offering insights that can enrich our lives today. By understanding these universal themes, we gain not just a deeper appreciation for ancient cultures, but also a shared language of empathy that transcends borders and unites us as a global community. As we come to the end of our journey through the forgotten art of ancient storytelling and oral histories, it's worth pausing to reflect on just how profound this tradition has been in shaping who we are. For thousands of years, stories weren't just entertainment. They were the lifeblood of communities, the glue that bound generations together. They carried wisdom, values, and identity, passing them down through the ages in a way that no written text or digital record ever could. And while the world has changed dramatically since those early days, the power of storytelling remains as vital as ever. Think about it, every culture, every society has its own stories. These tales are more than just words, they're mirrors reflecting the hopes, fears, and dreams of humanity. They remind us of where we've come from and who we are. But they also have the unique ability to connect us, to bridge divides, and to remind us of our shared humanity. In a world that often feels fragmented, storytelling offers a way to find common ground. The revival of these ancient traditions isn't just about preserving the past. It's about shaping the future. Imagine what could happen if we embraced storytelling as a tool for understanding, empathy, and connection. In a time when digital content is fleeting and often forgettable, the oldest form of communication might just hold the key to creating something lasting and meaningful. Stories have the power to heal, to inspire, and to bring people together in ways that few other things can. So here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to explore your own storytelling heritage. What stories have been passed down in your family, your community, or your culture? What tales have shaped your identity? And don't stop there, share those stories. Whether it's with friends, family, or even online, your voice matters. By sharing our stories, we keep these ancient traditions alive, and we create a richer, more connected world. As we close this chapter, let's remember that storytelling isn't just a relic of the past, it's a timeless tool that can guide us forward. In a world that often feels chaotic and disconnected, perhaps the answers we're looking for can be found in the stories we tell. So go out, explore, and share, because in the end, our stories are what make us human, and in sharing them, we might just find the key to our shared future.